I hope this story here is all about these kids. Otherwise, it's just a cancer inside you. And I'm not willing to live with that inside me. We're not going to walk around with darkness in our heart for the rest of our lives.
Over 8 weeks ago, 4 young lives brutally taken in the tight-knit college town of Moscow, Idaho.
But this morning, a grieving father of one of the victims, Kaylee Goncalves, talks about the week that he finally started to get some answers. Investigators say Kaylee was killed in the same bed as her best friend, Madison Mogen, in a house just off the University of Idaho campus, November 13th. Downstairs, their roommate, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, also stabbed to death.
The man accused of murdering the 4 students was arrested in Pennsylvania, as you most likely have heard by now, and then flown to Idaho almost a week ago now. 28-year-old Washington State University PhD student Brian Koberger is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and a burglary charge for going into that home on King Road in Moscow with the intent to commit murder.
A detailed probable cause affidavit, a court document, was released Thursday, laying out why investigators think that he is the one who killed those 4 students.
And as Koberger sits there in the Latah County Jail without bail, Goncalves told our Morgan Romero on Friday he is breathing a small sigh of relief.
Right now, the details made public.
Good morning, guys. Coming up on...
I miss what she meant to the family.
And she meant the world, the planner, the one who pushed the envelope. 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves leaves a big void in her big family.
Holidays, she was the one who wanted to do the gingerbread houses and push it, but you knew to make memories, you got to do those type of things. So we'll miss that that gift that she brought to us every single day, and she was a little ornery too, so we'll miss that as well.
Kaylee's father, Steve, smiled as he reflected on her love of country music and concerts, and her love of her best friend, Madison Mogen, whom she grew up alongside and died alongside.
I just read a letter where Maddie wrote to Kaylee talking about their friendship, and you know, it was powerful, and you know, they were beyond sisters, you know, because sisters are, you kind of forced to get along. These two didn't, you know, they weren't forced. They were just like yin and yang. And
Kaylee, Maddie, and one of their roommates, Xana Kernodle, were stabbed to death in their house near U of I on the morning of November 13th. Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was also killed.
I'm here for my daughter and Maddie, but there's 2 other people that are just as important, and their kids went through just as much, and their losses are just as real. Like, I was going to be required to come out and make sure that the story didn't die, and we built some momentum, and we got everyone involved that we possibly could.
That momentum increased.
I mean, it took forever for me, but
Brian, did you do it? Brian, did you do it?
When police announced they arrested the man they think took the students' lives.
if there was ever a team, a dream team to solve a crime and put it together correctly, we got him. So that's why I just sit back and now it's just going to be a slow drag.
What are you feeling now that we know who the suspect is?
I feel relief. It was nearly 7 weeks of absolutely no clear guidance that we were on the right track. We had evidence. We knew there was evidence, but all that can mean nothing until you have a face and a personality to put it towards. Tell yourself to be careful because you never know for sure. You know, it's a defendant and it's not done. There's still a lot more work to do. So that's where we're at now. We're ready for the next chapter to be, okay, we're going to go in and, you know, we got the affidavit and we've seen that it wasn't a page, it wasn't 2, it wasn't 3 or 4 or 5, it was long.
An unusually detailed and long probable cause affidavit released Thursday lays out DNA, cell phone records, and video surveillance investigators say link Washington State University grad student Brian Koberger to the crime scene. Investigators say they found a knife sheath next to Maddie's body, and the sheath had DNA matching Koberger's father's DNA.
It was worth the wait, and you know, they had a lot of evidence to show for that. So, you know, we're on the right track, and there's still a long ways to go, but it feels good. It feels good to be where we are right now.
The affidavit also said Koberger's phone pinged near the girl's home on King Road in Moscow at least 12 times in the months leading up to the murders.
And close enough that he was touching their Wi-Fi, his phone was touching their Wi-Fi.
Defense attorneys tell me the probable cause investigators put in their affidavit is likely just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to their evidence. But statements in this affidavit are not evidence on their own. Attorneys caution we still haven't heard the defense's side in the case. Koberger is presumed innocent at this point, and he has a right to a fair trial.
What was it like seeing him in court yesterday? What kind of sense did you get from his body language and the way that he acted?
I got a sense that he was shocked that he had messed up so bad. You know, he had read that, and I think he knew how damaging it was, and he wasn't going to be able to explain a lot of that stuff very easily. He could, I'm sure he thinks he can, but I seen a man who looked defeated, and his body language looked like somebody in shock and dismay. So I think he knows how much he has to go against, and the reality of it setting in.
The PCA also revealed one of the surviving roommates woke up to noises and saw a masked man in the home a little after 4 a.m. She told police she was in a, quote, frozen, shocked phase when he walked past her to the back door. 911 wasn't called until noon the day of the murders.
So I think that's a natural thing for girls to freeze up and lock up and, put themselves in a position of safety. And I don't hold that against them. I've already checked into could they have lived? Was it a slow bleed out or something? And it wasn't. So there's one bad guy here that I have to focus on.
Do you know of any connections between Kaylee and any of the victims and this individual?
To me, it's like 9-10 miles. I'd be shocked if these guys didn't cross each other in grocery stores and just everyday life. If he was over there for a year, I'm assuming that he followed them and he may have figured out what their patterns are. And then, he tries to bump into them or he tries to hang out in those spots.
You don't think there's going to be some kind of connection that will explain this?
No, what kind would? My girl's bullying him or, what kind of behavior could explain somebody being this brutal to another human being? He was probably obsessed with just their overall looks and their social media accounts and the fact that they were close,
Along with any possible connections, the affidavit also didn't reveal a motive. Because Koberger was getting his PhD in criminology, Goncalves guesses he may have wanted to live out what he taught.
I think he thought in his little fantasy world that he was going to teach a class where he actually did it. No one had a clue. And then that gave him a sense of superiority. Like you're getting your grades, graded by somebody who actually has lived this lifestyle.
The grieving father says rather than glorifying the suspect, with all the national attention on this case,
I hope this story here is all about these kids.
We have to remember to highlight the beautiful lives lost. He also feels he has to forgive the person who did this.
Otherwise, it's just a cancer inside you. And I'm not willing to live with that inside me. We're not going to walk around with darkness in our heart for the rest of our lives and, have his name written there like a tattoo on our consciousness.
Morgan Romero, Idaho's News Channel 7.
A very strong father right there. Goncalves says he's grateful his family hired an experienced attorney to help them through this because it's just a lot to handle on their own.
And they're leaning on that attorney to help guide them through this legal process and court schedule. We'll continue to follow all that, obviously.